Isn't it time for sweater weather yet? Hey friends, I'm Jennifer and welcome to episode, I think this is 12. I wrote down 11, but I think it's 12 of the Real Knitting Podcast, and I'm so excited to be here. We do this every couple weeks, so check on back if you're interested. I just got back Sunday night. This is Thursday, September 1st. I just got back from a wonderful knitting fiber art kind of private little retreat that a few of us went on, and I also got to interview the people at Local Cloth. So I'm on like a fiber high right now, and I have so much to show you all. Let's just jump right into the knitting. So I have nothing finished, and you will understand why when I get to talk about all this. But I've been working on my little boy's sweater, my little John. And we did hear that his adoption should be coming through in September. So here we go, ready for it to happen. But I'm working on this little sweater from 60 Quick Knits for little kids. This one is called the Sailor Stripe Pullover. I'm not doing it striped. I have done it in Ella Rae Classic Heathers. And I have this, I'm not sure how this piece goes on, but anyway, I have little pieces like this, and I have redone the sleeve. This is like the third time I've knit this sleeve, maybe, because I didn't measure very well. But I just want to point this out. I finally did get the sleeve done, and I think it is finally the right size, but it's really interesting. This piece, I used it in an illustration for a class I taught over the weekend. This is the difference between blocking and not blocking. Check that out. Blocked, not blocked. So if you're ever wondering, should I block my knits, if they have any fiber content, any animal fiber content in them at all, yes, it makes a huge difference in the way things look. So I have all the little pieces, and then I gotta block that one, and then I'm gonna sew them all together. And then this is Ella Rae Classic Heathers. Also, it's color 131, and it's like a really dark gray, but it almost looks a little chocolate in person. Let's hold it up to the blocked part. There we go. Yeah, so that's gonna be the trim. It's gonna be the neckline, and then down the little raglan area with buttons. And I have gone through my vintage button stash and come up with 4 different options. So one of them are these sassy little bees with an attitude. Come on, little camera. These little bees with an attitude. They are from the Piece Goods shop. I don't know if any of you remember when Piece Goods was a thing. I have these sweet little frogs. And I think I just need 3 of these. I have these little ones that say 1, 2, 3, 4. Little primary looking numbers. And then I actually have a bunch of these little yellow, very vintage Oro quality buttons. I don't know, but whenever they were new, they were 29 cents. So pretty vintage. And I'm kind of leaning toward the yellow ones. Because, whoa, shaking the table. Look how that would pop. And of course it would be beside the blue. So let's kind of audition. So there's the yellow. The little pop of yellow. We could do, the little numbers would be cute, wouldn't they? Frogs. I don't think the frogs would pop as much off of the black. Maybe. And then here's the little sassy bees. I kind of don't want to do these sassy bees because little John has enough of an attitude and I don't want to add to it. So, I don't know about that. They are living in this, my pieces are living in this. I have no idea why I have Elmer's glue in there. None. ADHD brain. So, it's living in that simple clear plastic bag, and I'm using my wonderful Licky Copper needles I'm trying to tell you the size, but I can't see it very well. I think these are a 6. I love my coppers. I've used this particular size a lot, and so they are starting to tarnish, but I just think that's beautiful. I'm a lover of all things vintage, though. Okay, work in progress number 1. Work in progress number 2. Socks, because you always got to have a purse sock. And when my family went down to Gatlinburg, I got to go to the Smoky Mountain Spinnery, and they do a lot of spinning and fiber and other things, but they do also have yarn. And I got this bamboo pop, and the color is Overcast. There it is, bamboo pop sock. It's kind of blowing out. There we go, bamboo pop sock and color 401. And I'm just doing a top down, and I think this one's going to be a Christmas gift. And I just put a bunch of plain old rose on there. I'm using my Carbons size 0 because I really like that texture. It gives me or the thickness. I don't know. It gives me a pretty tight woven, really warm sock. So I just put some round and rounds on that because I really am in need of something mindless. And it is still, this is kind of my all the time sock bag. It's still living in my little Cozy Up Knits JoJo bag. That's to the Debbie's Toboggan. So I designed this pattern, I don't know, like a year ago, maybe more, not sure. Let's not talk about how I'm pouring toxins down my throat with Diet Coke. I know. But I designed the Debbie's Toboggan and designed it for my mom. And I gave her both of my samples when I was done taking photographs and things. But I have an opportunity to teach a class on it September the 14th at Yarntiques in Johnson City. If you're anywhere near here, come on to class, because we're going to do cabling without a needle using my little hat pattern. So I've started on a sample. It's a little hard to see. It's really beautiful in person and super, super soft. This is Juniper Moon Cumulus. I don't have its tag right here, but it is the Cumulus, and it is a cotton blend. So it's cotton and a little bit of acrylic, I believe. And yeah, it's cables all the way up, and it forms sort of a flower look on the crown. So I'll make sure and pop in a picture so you can see like how all the cables come together to make this beautiful crown. I have not used the cotton with it before, and this stuff is so soft. I'm really enjoying it. It's a tad bit splitty, but not too bad. And I like to do, you'll see I have a bunch of little markers on here. I like to place a marker in between each of my repeats. This is a fairly large repeat. 14 stitch repeats. 16. No. 22. 22 stitch repeat. And it's 16 rounds. So it's a big chunky chart, and then at the top of it, the chart brings it all together to the point. So really happy about that. This is going to be a shop sample for Yarntiques so that they can show what the pattern is and place it with the Juniper Moon. I dug this bag out. Now this is a pretty old bag, but I did look them up, and there's still a thing. This is called the Skein Attraction by No Knits. Know Knits. All one word. I'm actually going to link to this on Amazon, but they have their own shop with lots of stuff going on. But it's a great little ripstop nylon pouch with a nice drawstring. And it's got a round bucket, so a round center, so I would almost call it a bucket bag. but it's got a drawstring and it's got a little strap for holding or for your wrist or whatever. So that's what that's living in. And then down in here, I found this at a thrift store one day, and I think it's just supposed to be like a little cosmetics pouch, but look at those chickens, you guys. All the little chickens, they're so cute. So this is my little notions pouch that I'm using here, and it's Carissa Black. If anybody knows what that is, let me know. But there's my sweet little notions pouch hanging out in there. And this hat is being knit on size 5 and 7. And these are my Majestic four square, I believe they call them, from Knit Picks. And they are actually a squared off needle, and they're really comfortable. A nice little wooden interchangeable set that I've had for a while. I think that's all there is to tell you about that. Let me make a mark here, make sure I catch everything. Aha! Okay, so I did let you know that I'm designing again, and this pattern is going to be called the Winged Deer Sweater Vest. And I showed a little bit of it last time, but I've gotten up to where I split. So here is the gorgeous texture. It's a cable and slip stitch pattern, but really it's easy. Even if you've not done any cabling or slip stitching, I think you can do this pattern. So I have started on, and I just pulled my needle out. Where'd it go? I have this ridiculously long cord for what I'm doing right now, but that's because I was lazy and didn't change it over. But these are my Knit Picks rainbow interchangeables. Let me get these stitches back on before I totally lose them for good. Knit Picks interchangeable rainbows, and I like them. They're just a simple wooden interchangeable needle, and they've got a really smooth joint. I think I did a review on these, and for the price, you really can't hardly beat these. But I have started on, so it's going to be a little bit cropped, and I have started on the top, and it looks like it's not going to be a whole lot, but I'm going to do ribbing around the neckline and around the armholes. So there we have, actually maybe up like this. There we have the Winged Deer vest, sweater vest pattern. I'm madly in love with this yarn. I've told you before, it is Simply Worsted by Haiku, and I just pulled that needle out again. Ugh. Simply Worsted by Haiku, and the nice people at Skacel had sent it to me to design with, but it's this beautiful, and it is Blue Nile, right? Yes? Nile Blue. Nile Blue, color 27. And that's just a fuzzy. But there you go. And this is living in, and I'll explain more about this in a minute, but this is living in my newest little bag. Yeah. I won this bag. My friend Carrie brought it to be part of the giveaway. We do like a mean Santa kind of swap at our retreat, and everybody brings something that's in the $20 to $25 range, and then we just sort of kind of fight over it, but in a fun way, right? So I love this bag. It's got lots of outside pockets. It's got some inside pockets. It's got this little polka dot. I don't know where she got it, but it looks like some of the stuff maybe I've seen at Hobby Lobby before. I don't know. But I also want to show this. I love this thing. I got this at the Dollar Tree. This is a square. They call it an angle square, but it's just a square ruler, but you've got both directions, and it's metal, and it's awesome for checking your gauge, because you just kind of hold it up there. There's your gauge, both directions. So, handy little Dollar Tree item. All right. Hopefully, the winged deer sweater will be ready for test knitters. I want to say at the end of September, I hope. I still have a lot of work to do on it. So if you're interested in being a test knitter, I know I already had one lady say, hey, me, I want to be a test knitter. If you are interested in testing, comment below and I will get with you when we get a little closer to time. All right. So those are my regular knitting things that I have. Now, I told you about going to the retreat. There are some vendors at our retreat. Even though there's only like 30 people invited, we have some people who set up tables and vend. And one of those people was my friend Emily. Now, Emily's mom passed away a couple months ago. It hasn't been very long. And her mom, Pam, was such a sweet part of our knitting community here. And we all love Pam. And it was really hard to lose her. And everything was a little bit different without her there this year. But Emily brought some of Pam's fiber items. She gave away a lot. She sold some. And I had a fit over this thing right here. Hold on. Look at it. Look. I'll get it close. That is rug yarn. It's 70% alpaca. It's got a little acrylic and wool to let it hang out together to give it a little strength. Is that right? Yeah. Big Bagsmith's Big Stitch alpaca wool. Now, Pam had started this. She had started, I don't know if you can tell, this bottom part right down here is really beginning to felt together. And you can see a difference between like the more recent stitches because they look like a rug yarn bump, whereas these are already felting and getting unbelievably soft. So it comes, this was a kit that Pam had begun, but because it's on these size 36 needles, these are telephone poles. I really don't like knitting with these. I think if they had a longer taper, they would be a little bit better, but these really hurt Pam's hands, and I can understand why. They don't necessarily hurt my hands, although maybe in retrospect they do. But I don't enjoy it because I almost feel like I'm knitting like this. And it's not smooth and comfortable and relaxing, but it's so going to be worth it. So there's the rug, big alpaca rug. I'm so in love. It comes with, the kit came with 2 of these. This is a rug yarn bump. I don't know, I'm new to this too. A rug yarn bump, and there were 2 of these, and I've just started on this second one, and it did come with very simple directions. It's got a slip stitch on one side, and that's it. Otherwise, it's just knitting, and it's so amazing underfoot. I have never felt anything quite so wonderful underfoot. You may be wondering how in the world I intend to put this on the floor of my house with a toddler and a senior dog. The answer is I'm not going to. So the dog has been having the occasional accident in the house, and we have hardwoods and we just clean it up and we let her back out. But it's going to be a while, first of all, before I finish the rug. And even then, I may... So here's my plan. This is my evil plan. I think I'm going to keep it under the bed during the day. Under my bed during the day. Like where the little people and pets can't get to it. And then last thing at night when I get into bed, slide it out and enjoy putting my little feet on it, and then go to sleep. And then when I wake up in the morning, it will be the first thing my feet touch. And so I'll have that little indulgence, that little private indulgence of all of the wool, all of the alpaca-ness, first thing in the morning. What do you think? Will it be safe? I don't know. Anyway, so there's my big project. And we also have a free swap table. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But I saw this bag from across the room. And it looks like a mermaid. And so, isn't that fun? It's so wild. And it doesn't really go with the rug. But it's the right size. And I'm just enjoying it. So the big wool rug is, or the big alpaca rug, excuse me, is in the crazy mermaid tote bag. Okay. Let's see. Yes, the Big Stitch Knit Rug by the Pearl Bee. That's the kit it was. And it says on there 2012, so I don't know. I don't know if that's when she bought it. I don't know if it's still available. But part of the reason I love it is that my friend Pam worked on it. So I have a little bit of Pam in my house. Okay. One more work in progress, and then we will take a little yoga break before I tell you all about retreat and all those sorts of things. I took a class in locker hooking. So Joanne Strouch was there. Joanne and her husband owned Strouch Fiber Works. Is that what it was? Fiber Works. And the company is still going. They sold the company, but the company made like yarn swifts and ballers and all that sort of stuff. And Joanne taught locker hooking. Now, Joanne has a 7x9 rug at her house that she finished that I hear is just the most glorious thing ever. But we started with trivets. And I don't have my trivet here. I set it aside because I'm going to take it to my mom. But here's my locker hooking. This is going to be a chair pad. So you have this canvas mesh like this. And you have a tool. This is called a locker hooking tool, and it's got an eye on one end, and it has like a crochet hook on the other end. Now, I would like one that has a deeper neck on the crochet hook so that it's a little easier, but it works pretty good anyway. So what you do is you have, this is called your locker yarn. This is not going to show. And you go down into the hole and you pull up a little bump or a little tuft of whatever you're using. So I've got a couple of things. I got this yarn, this unlabeled, unnamed. I believe it's got wool in it. But I love the colors with the purple and the blue. I got that off of the free table. Hang on. I got two about this size. Isn't that gorgeous? Love that. And then I also found this. So I'm holding two strands of the purple and blue together with this solid blue. And this is American Lamb 100% wool. And it's a bulky. So there's that, and the color appears to be Blue Moon, and I love that. And I think I have enough that I can carry it, if not all the way through, my latch hooking through quite a bit. So you can use all kinds of different things in your locker hooking, and one of the things that I'm using is roving. So for those of us who don't spin, we always see these beautiful rovings, and then we're like, oh, well, I don't spin. I'm not going to spin anytime soon. I don't have anything to use that for, but now I do. So this beautiful creation right here, this is done by my friend Louise Nuttall at Nuttall Fiber Arts, and I'll link to Louise. And it was really just an extra scrap, I think, that Louise had in her stuff. And so I think I have enough to go all the way around, and maybe a little bit more. But that right there, the second, the purple, is the roving, and I used one strand of this wool with it just to give it a little strength, because the roving will pull apart. So I got that from Louise, and I got this from Louise to put in it, and I got a little bit of this off of the free table. I have no idea where it came from, but it's a roving. And this was dyed by my friend Carrie at Junebug Farms. So I can unravel this and put some of that in there if I decide I want a little green. So all of that. I also got this big pile of just gray wool bumpy stuff. It'll look good in there. It can all go in. And this is crazy cool. You can even use t-shirt yarn. You can use fabric as long as it's cut on the bias, because you do want it to be a little stretchy. So Joanne showed us how to cut up t-shirt fabric, and if you want a tutorial on that, let me know, because it's pretty simple. We can do that in the basement with the lights and everything. But I cut up some of my old Mountain Yoga t-shirts, so I'll probably run this through with a little bit of wool, just because it's not the softest. Maybe 2 strands of wool and 1 strand of one of these. It's not the softest, it's more firm, and I want a little squishy on a chair pad. But I have lots of this t-shirt yarn now that I can weave into or locker hook into that. Fair warning though, locker hooking does hurt my hands. It doesn't take a long time for my hands to really get tired. So now I have a whole pile of locker hooking stuff down here on the floor, and I'm going to leave it for now. This is what a yarn podcast is like yarn and fiber everywhere, and it's fun. Okay. So hang on until after the yoga, and we will talk about the other stuff I got at retreat, because I came back with some stuff. But let's go ahead and do a little something for our hands. So I have injured my hand, and I think it really comes up through the forearm. Probably a combination of doing 2 Thai yoga sessions and locker hooking and cutting up t-shirt yarn and knitting with the great big wool rug 36 needles. And I've been like power knitting on my Debbie's toboggan. So this hand has not entirely been functional today. But I got my husband to work on it. I've really been doing my exercises and stuff, so it's getting better. But let's do a hand exercise. This one is great for arthritis. So quite often, those of us who have arthritis, we will hurt here and here. This joint and this joint. So one of the ways to do that is to help those is to provide just a little bit of vibration into these joints, these 2 joints right here. So all we have to do is turn palms out and gently tap. So if you have arthritis, if this is tender, stay here and just do little baby taps. Just be real easy. And then you can move up to the thumb joint. Just baby taps. If that doesn't bother you, you can really hit those joints together and get some good vibration and maybe help prevent some pain. But just bouncing the hands off of each other gives you that little vibrational therapy. Who knew? All right, so there's your little bit of hand yoga for today. So the retreat was up in Black Mountain at a place called the YMCA Blue Ridge Assembly, and it was so lovely. The accommodations are kind of older, but they've got such a nice mountain feel to them, and the property is huge and wooded and beautiful. But most importantly, we got to hang out with about 30 of our bestest pals, some of whom we had never met before, that even came from far away. I think the farthest is my friend Brenda from Maine, and I think she watches podcasts. Hi, Brenda. But it was so fun to get to see everybody again and spend time just in their presence and in such a comfortable, safe space where we just all can feel loved. So I did 2 Thai sessions with my yoga Thai mat, and I taught 2 30-minute yoga classes, and I taught measuring for knitwear, which I think I'm going to work up into an online course. Let me know if you're interested in that. I would keep it pretty affordable. But do like a video course on how to make all of your hand knits fit the intended recipient. And we would do like head to toe measurements and explain all of it. And then, so I did a little of that. And then, I took my locker hooking class. We had a great big swap table, and I have things to show you off of there. I got several things off of the swap table. One of them is this great big James C. Brett Marble Chunky. So this is a machine washable yarn, and it's massive. It's 200 grams. I have used this before. I had a different colorway of this, and I really liked it. It's a good quality machine washable, and it's a chunky, but it's acrylic. And I typically do not like acrylic, but this is a pretty good acrylic. So we will see what this grows up to be. Then I also got 2 skeins from my friend Fran at Cabin Crafted. And she's cabincraftedshop.com, and I will link to that. And I think these are probably 2 of her older skeins. But these are hand spun by my friend Fran. 2 beautiful skeins. There's her little cabin, and that is actually a sketch of the cabin that she lives in. And she does soap and fiber and all sorts of things. This is Hog Island wool. So I've heard of Hog Island sheep, but I really need to investigate that because the different sheep breeds are just really cool. Okay, Hog Island wool, and this one is Gulf Coast wool. Now, Fran did this thing where she was spinning all the different heritage breeds of sheep. Really, really fascinating stuff. She has a blog if you want to check out more about that. And then this soft little guy, this is Ozark Carding Mill in Durant, Oklahoma. This is a sport weight of alpaca, bamboo rayon, and merino. And I don't see a color on it, but it's this deep purpley maroon, maybe? Purpley maroon, maroonish purple. I don't know, but it's pretty. So grabbed those. I also won a door prize. 3 skeins of this BFL Jacob mohair. It's a 40-20-40 in peach. Look at that. Beautiful. From Junebug Farms. There's her little logo. This is from Carrie Jarman here in Jonesboro. And she not only dyed this yarn, but she and her husband raised the mohair goats. So the floof on this came from Carrie and Jay's babies. The only place that you can buy Junebug Farms hand-dyed natural yarns right now is at the Makers Market in Jonesboro. But I am talking to Carrie about maybe being able to put some of her yarn up on my website so that you all can access it, because it is absolutely sustainable. Those goats are loved. And look, can you see the mohair in there? See that the little fuzzies? Yeah. And Carrie is an incredible dyer. You can see just the layers of texture, color. Wait, what's that called? Variegation. Dye variegation in here. And it's just beautiful. I've got to figure out what to do with this because I have 3 skeins of worsted weight yarn. Now this is a little rustic. It is a little bit scratchy, so not sure. But I love the more rustic yarns, especially for color work. If I'm going to do color work, I love it, or slip stitch or cables or anything like that. I love it because the more rustic wools, they kind of stand up. Their little loops stand up and wait for you to come get them. So it's hard to accidentally drop a stitch in a little bit more of a rustic wool. But this color is peach. Yeah. So I won those. I was so excited. Now, have I told you everything I got? My llama bag, all the new yarn. Oh, I got a stack of old knitting magazines, like Knit Simple and Interweave. And I think I got a couple of little books, but I just threw them over there on the bookshelf. And as I come across something really interesting, I will pop it up there. I also got a hold of this knitter's journal from Swatch to Stash. Does anybody use one of these? It gives you a little place to keep your swatch. There's your needle inventory and everything, but it has a little pocket for your swatch, which I think is really cool because I tend to lose my swatches. Let me know if you've used this because I'm really curious and thinking about starting it. Okay, another thing that I got off of the swap table and sort of collected from friends throughout the weekend, there's a young lady in our community who learned how to knit while she was incarcerated, and she's out now. She's turning her life around. I'm so proud of her. We're not going to give her name or anything, but I put together a big bag of yarny goodness for her so that she can knit to her little heart's content. So if you have been one who has ever sent yarn or needles or anything to the women's prisons, please know that it is totally appreciated. These ladies need to learn handcrafts. I mean, I could go on and on about how good knitting is for my mental health, and I'm sure you could too. So if you're sending anything to the prison, or if you've thought about sending anything to the women's prisons, please do send that out because the ladies really do benefit from that. All right, so I mentioned that I have the hat class coming up. That's going to be September 14th. It's coming up really soon. I really need to finish my sample. If you want to get in on that one's at Yarntiques in Johnson City, Tennessee. If you would like for me to do an online version of that class, let me know. I'm still kind of finding my place in YouTube and finding my place in the knitting world. So that's coming up. I've got like 3 beginner classes, and then I believe starting in September and running through to December, I have a class that I'm calling My First Sweater, and we're going to take a Tin Can Knits pattern flax, I believe, and it's a top-down simple raglan sweater, and we're going to go through all the basics and learn how to knit sweaters. So I'm excited about that. Don't forget that I have a free pattern. It's either on Ravelry, under Mountain Legacy Design, or it's mountainlegacydesigns.com, the Blue Ridge Mitts pattern. Go and pick it up. All I ask for in return is your email address, and that just lets me keep in touch with you. I'm really bad about sending out emails, so it's not happening very often. But yeah, go grab your free pattern. Also, I almost forgot this. I saw it sitting here. I've been reading the Knitting Sutra, Craft as a Spiritual Practice. I picked this up. I think I got this at the Anything Fiber sale this time around. So it's interesting. Really interesting about crafting as a practice. Yeah, you should read it. Very interesting. I did a big interview with the ladies at Local Cloth in Asheville. Local Cloth is an organization that seeks to connect fiber growers with fiber artists and end users. And so to build up the local fiber economy and the local fiber community in the Asheville area. And they have a 100-mile, they called it their fiber shed, which I thought was super cute, that they draw from. And you got to check out that video. It's pretty amazing. I'll link to it. Very eye-opening as to what's going on in our little corner of the fiber world. I think that's about it, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Please communicate with me. Let me know what you want, what you need, what you're looking for. I love you. Have a wonderful week.